Okay, everybody who is here today, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for taking time out of your workday, your summer vacation, whatever it is that you are doing. You are taking time out of your day to spend about an hour or so with us at the National Center for Learning Disabilities. My name is Susan Reynolds. And this is our co-host and our Texas parent leader, Amy. And we are doing a series of advocate academies, and this is our second one, and it's on assistive technology. Oh, goodness, why isn't this moving forward? There we go. So again, my name is Susan Reynolds. I'm the National Center for Learning Disabilities field organizer. I am a parent to a child with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and he was recently diagnosed with a visual motor processing disorder. I have been a military family advocate for a number of years, and though my husband just retired, so that is definitely more of a previous life. I am also an adult with 2 learning disabilities and ADHD. And as I had just mentioned, our Texas parent leader is Amy Trainer, and she is, well, she knows all you need to know about assistive technology. So I'm just going to let her take it away.
I don't know about, I know all of the things, but a few things. Yes, I'm an assistive technology professional, occupational therapist by trade. I have the honor of parenting a sweet kiddo with specific learning disabilities and dyslexia, and get to do some fun things like write columns for newsletters and such. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, well, thank you, Amy. I'm glad we're doing this. There's a lot of discussion about what assistive technology is and what it isn't, and I'm thrilled that we are jumping into this because you taught me quite a bit when we were putting this presentation together. So let's just get right into it.
Okay, let's do it. So a good place to start is, what is it? And like you said, Susan, it's something that's a little mystical, I think. There's not a hard, fast anything that applies to it. But the way that we look at assistive technology by definition is right here. Anything, truly anything. Any item, any equipment, system, truly anything, no matter where it comes from, whether it's something that is fabricated, specific for someone, bought off the shelf, anything. That helps a student do something, well, I would say student, individual, anyone, but in this case, since we're talking about school-based kiddos, student do something that he or she cannot do without it, or it helps that person do something better than he or she could do that activity without it. Assistive technology can help students with their educational challenges, whether they're in reading, writing, math, really any subject. Assistive technology can help students really thrive in both school and at life. Assistive technology can help grow and develop a student's independence and their confidence.
Oh, that's amazing. So can I ask a quick question, Amy?
Please do.
When you say custom made, that could be anything.
That could be anything.
I mean, we're talking everything that could be custom made to help a child or an adult. Right. That's right. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
So a little example for that, if you want. Yes. So it's not school-based specific in my head when I'm thinking of, it's not the first thing that popped into my head, but when I was doing rehab as an OT, I worked with a gentleman who sustained a high spinal cord injury. Okay. And so we were working on those independent skills, like the life things, right? And all he wanted to do was to shave himself again. He wanted to be able to shave his own face, and it was so high, he only had use of his upper shoulder. Okay. And so I created a splint to help him hold his own razor so that he could do that. And so for him, that was assistive technology.
That is amazing.
Right. So that's the thing, like, it's pretty vast.
Yeah, but that is amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So now that we've kind of given a simple definition, what we really need to pay attention to is how the law and the regulations that help guide and support our students in school, how they interpret it. So We've got the definition here from IDEA. They define assistive technology as any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially off the shelf, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of a child with a disability. So in 2004, IDEA was revised to include the provision that all students who are blind and individuals with print disabilities in elementary schools and secondary schools that are publicly funded have access to print instructional materials, including textbooks, any printed materials, in a format that is accessible to them free of charge.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
All right, so what about Section 504 and ADA, our other guiding regulations? So Section 504 and the American with Disabilities Act require what they call reasonable accommodations to be provided for individuals with disabilities by schools receiving public funding. So assistive technology really has made reasonable accommodations easier to achieve. However, there is not a specific schedule for consideration or assistive or assessment for assistive technology under 504 or IDA Title II, like there is for the Individuals with Disability Education Act. ADA Title II specifically does require that a student with disabilities have the same opportunity to be as effective at communicating as a student without disabilities. People with disabilities that affect hearing, seeing, speaking, reading, writing, remembering, or understanding may use different ways to communicate than people who do not. So there are many ways for those individuals to be provided equal access to communication, and often referred to as auxiliary aids and services. So those are devices or services that enable effective communication, of which assistive technology can be a part. All right, so why is it important? Well, this chart here is one of my most favorite recent kind of illustrates a study, the National Longitudinal Transitional Study that was released in 2016, and it really illustrates why assistive technology is so important. We all know that the goal of our educational system is to really support and allow all children and individuals to be able to function out of post-secondary, whether that's employment, post-secondary education, be independent in their life. And when we look at the outcomes that this study really revealed, it really illustrates why it's so important for students with high incidence disabilities, things like learning disabilities and attention difficulties. Those are what we call high incidence disabilities. This study revealed that those students that received assistive technology performed significantly better out post-secondary than those not receiving assistive technology. So in this chart, you'll see the outcome measure of graduation, post-secondary enrollment, or having a paying job. And then the percentage of students that were surveyed that had received assistive technology support during school and those that not. It is mind-blowing to think how significant the use of assistive technology can really set up a student for post-secondary success, and give you what you need as far as information to be able to have those conversations with your school, and really encourage people to invest their time and attention into assistive technology.
Well, Amy, with us getting ready to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, one of the areas that was part of the ADA was a paying job, employment. And
Absolutely.
as we see that our students in particular, as you said, the high incidences of diagnosis or disability, which word did you use?
It's high incidence disabilities.
Okay. Without assistive technology, they are not going to be able to fulfill that dream. One of the promises of the ADA.
Mm-hmm.
So learning more about how assistive technology benefits our children into adulthood. I mean, that's a pretty scary number, I do admit, but I mean, we're getting ready to share, like,
Right.
obviously the various forms, but it's good to have this information so that parents and caregivers and students can show that with the right assistive technology in their workplace, they will thrive.
Right. And I think it's important to really help empower parents and educators with statistics like this, because we should really be so data driven and
Yes,
why we're
yes,
doing and why we're making the decisions that we are. And we are talking percentages that are significantly different with positive benefit. There's no reason to not explore. There's no
exactly,
reason.
exactly.
All right. So I love this quote about the use of assistive technology. It's not to take the place of direct and explicit instruction, but rather provide access to grade level and course curriculum while skills are being developed through explicit instruction. So it's not an either or, and it's not a, instead of teaching you, we're going to give you this. We're going to provide this so that we can continue to develop your own skills and knowledge. So how do we do this? How do we consider assistive technology? Well, thanks to Dr. Joy Zabala, she created the SET framework. This is a 4-part model that is intended to promote collaboration between all the stakeholders, between the student, the family, educators, in all the phases of assistive technology, from the consideration to delivering the service, considering any tweaks that need to be made along the way, and how well it's going. So that's an acronym. We spelled it out here for you. S is for student, E is the environment, T is the task, and T for tools. And these are really where and how you guide the consideration process. So the assistive technology depends first and foremost on the individual student. Then it depends on where they are, their environment. In that environment, what tasks do they need to be able to complete? And in that environment, what tools are already there or what needs to be added for them to be able to be successful? When you're considering assistive technology for any student, you really have to focus on the area or areas that the kiddo needs support in, and work with the school to find what works. And then also remember that what works for one student doesn't always work for all the students, and what works for one kiddo in one environment may not work in a different setting. So it's very, very individualized.
Also, our children are growing up, right? So what a child needs at age 6 and 7, they may not need at age 10 or 11, 16 or 17, or even into adulthood.
Absolutely. And
So,
like we said, with the not to replace instruction, one
mhm,
could assume that depending on the area that's being supported with assistive technology, if it's something that can be met with instructional method, that a kiddo could be instructed to a point and have their own ability to be able to not need that assistive technology anymore, right? Wouldn't that be fabulous?
yeah,
But then there are other things that are always going to be, they're always going to be a permanent, which is fine too. But,
yep.
and this field is changing every day, right? There's more and more, and thank goodness there is, especially to meet the needs that we're in currently. Um, so it always changes. So there may be something that meets your child's needs better that needs to be considered as you move down the road.
Can I ask
Okay.
you a question?
Oh, hold on, Rebecca, we're going to do questions at the end, I promise. Okay. I'm sorry, I should have told you that. I'm so sorry, Rebecca. That's my bad.
Write it
No,
down so
but
you don't forget.
yes, write it, please. Write it down. Yeah.
That's because I always forget everything.
I forget everything too. So no, she's right. No, but I promise we'll get you to at the end, Rebecca. I promise.
All right,
Okay,
so
Amy.
let's talk about what some pieces of assistive technology might look like for some students. And like we said, it's not one size fits all. Everything looks a little bit different. But when you're talking about areas of need, these are some good places to start. So if you have a kiddo that is a struggling reader, text to speech is fabulous. Text to speech, when you use that, it reduces the cognitive load that a student's experiencing and increases the automaticity for those struggling readers. And what that leads to is students being able to gain the amount of text that they're reading and decrease that fatigue that they're experiencing and the stress, right? It's hard to try to keep up. And it can be used with books, websites, emails across lots of different areas. So text to speech is fabulous. Audiobooks or digital books with that text to speech. Optical character recognition is OCR. What this is it basically is a feature that will read locked text. So think a PDF, right? If you've got a picture and text and it's locked in a PDF, it's looking at that as an image. It's not looking at it as electronic text necessarily, but OCR will take that text and read it to the user. Graphic organizers are a simple method for assistive technology. Any annotation tools, which would be something that allows the user to take notes, maybe digitally, electronically, while they're reading the material. Displays controls that can customize to student and user needs, user preferences, and dictionaries and thesauruses. So for composition and spelling, things that help kiddos or those that struggle with facets of writing include simple things, right, Susan? Simple handwriting tools like a little pencil grip, or different alternative paper, or a slanted surface. So those can be very simple. Keyboards, touch screens, using dictation, right? Using your own voice, and we're becoming more familiar with that with the use of our home devices and mobile devices. Using word prediction, spell check and grammar check are also great, embedded into word processors. Again, using text to speech. Graphic organizers really help organize thoughts, and again, the dictionaries and thesauruses. And let's talk math. Math is, oh y'all, I'm so sorry, my dogs are going crazy. The glories of working from home these days, right? So some tools that you might use for math would include things like calculators, and there's lots of different kinds of calculators. Some that maybe the format's different, the button size, maybe they talk to you, maybe you can talk to them. Different kinds of math notation tools. Graph paper is amazing. Graphing tools, drawing tools, different tools that help solve the equations. Obviously manipulatives, that hands-on can be great for kiddos with learning disabilities. Using graphic organizers to organize those math computations. Using text to speech to hear those word problems read to you, and then being able to use your voice again to write and scribe your compositions or your math computations. And then executive functioning. So executive functioning is a broad term, right? That's really a higher level cognitive ability that those encompass the necessary tasks and skills that are required for independent, goal-directed behavior. Things like holding and manipulating information in your working memory, as well as maybe planning or organizing complex tasks. So some of those things that might be able to support executive functioning include things like calendars and planners, something that's as simple as that. Maybe a checklist, maybe using the captioning when you're watching a program or an instructional video. You could use noise canceling headphones. There's a lot of different tools that may not always scream to you AT, but that for the specific individual becomes assistive technology. And some of those for executive functioning are really those that might be in more mainstream. All right, so what we've provided here is a slide that has links to the information and some more other resources shared in this presentation. And those of y'all that have registered and are participating will receive the video recording and the slide deck when the academy is complete.
So Amy, we have some myths about AT, right? And I know that I didn't fully understand assistive technology until we decided to actually do this presentation, this Advocate Academy. There was a lot I just didn't know, and when I discovered these myths, I have to say I found them very disheartening that people thought that they think this way. So one of the I guess the myths, the misperceptions is that assistive technology provides an unfair advantage for students with disabilities.
Right, that's one of those that is, but like we said at the beginning, AT it is difficult to understand, and so it does lend itself to misunderstanding. So really AT is not providing an unfair advantage. What AT is providing is that equity piece, right? It's providing the equity for students with disabilities and leveling the playing field. one example that I like to use for this is, we're both wearing glasses,
Yeah.
right? Everybody
Yeah.
doesn't need glasses, but for us, we do.
Yeah.
And it's not making it unfair for us to use it. We're still experiencing the same instruction or the same experience. We just need the glasses to help make it better for us.
Yeah. So this is the one that I actually fell into. This is the myth that I fell into and didn't even know about it, that all assistive technology is high tech. Because I think for me, what it was is it's the technology part, right? And so to me, I make that assumption, oh, technology, all things high tech.
Right.
Well, that's not true.
Nope. And like we said, even a tiny little squishy pencil grip, that
Oh my
can be
gosh.
assistive technology for some kids. It really is anything from that pencil grip, maybe a note-taking app or a computer system to help, in the composition or reading, or maybe it's a communication device. It just really depends.
Or when I was in college, my books on CD.
Yes.
Yeah. And at first they were on cassette tape. So yeah, that doesn't seem very high tech.
No, and it sounds really laborious, actually.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Assistive technology can only be used in the classroom, and we know that's not true.
We know that's not true. It's anywhere, anything, anywhere, anytime, whatever. Clearly, we're taking the classroom into the home now. Your AT should follow you there as well.
Yeah. And of course, assistive technology is not a one size fits all because, well, not every kid in school on an IEP has the exact same diagnosis. So,
right. Well, and even if you're talking about our kids with SLD and all the kids that maybe have dyslexia, it's still a continuum. They don't experience dyslexia the same way. They don't experience the obstacles the same way. So, like we said before, what works for one kiddo may not work for all kiddos. And what works for one kiddo in science may not work for him or her in English language arts. So you really just have to be flexible and know that you're going to have to work to find the solutions and probably continue tweaking them as your child progresses through school.
Okay. Oh, goodness. Oh, wait, did I skip ahead? There we go.
There we are. Okay.
Sorry,
so
everybody.
Another great quote for most people, technology makes things easier. For people with disabilities, however, technology makes things possible. In some cases, technology becomes the great equalizer and provides the person with a disability a level playing field on which to compete.
I love that.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Is all technology assistive technology, my friend?
No, it's not. No. And, like we mentioned, because technology is becoming more mainstream, right? It's everywhere and it's getting more and more prevalent all the time. I talk to our home units all the time. Set this reminder, or remind me this, or how do you spell this? That's great, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's assistive technology. Dictation apps, pencil grips, planners, they're available to everyone. So mainstream becomes AT when it meets that criteria of increasing, maintaining, or improve a functional capability for someone with a disability. Okay. It acts as a support, right, to help the student overcome the barrier that they're experiencing because of the disability, and provides educational and employment equity. I included a couple of little questions that can kind of help someone determine whether we're talking mainstream or assistive technology. So what does the tool do for a student? And what would happen to the student if the tool were taken away? So kind of some ways to think about that. And here's an example that really might be helpful. If you have an entire class of maybe fifth graders, right, using Chromebooks or laptops and a word processing program to use to complete a writing assignment. After practicing, right, they're going to take a little practice and become a little bit more proficient with using that technology. Most students in that class will still be able to, and probably would prefer to, and will go back to using a pencil and paper for writing tasks, right? But for some students whose disability affects their ability to write, they might need to use word processing software for all the writing tasks, right? For those students, that word processing software increases their functional capability in writing and becomes assistive technology for them.
Okay, that's good to know. Finding help.
Finding help.
We have a lot of national organizations out there that have a focus on, well, not a focus, but they include assistive technology on their websites. So obviously us, the National Center for Learning Disabilities, you have Edutopia, Learning Disabilities Association of America, and understood.org. I enjoy Reading Rockets. I found it to be a nice site I found it to be a user-friendly site. Parent Center Hub is in every single state. And each state has their own kind of parent center that is free. You can go onto the parentcenterhub.org website, type in Texas, and find the one that is closest to where you live. And you all have a lot in Texas because the state is so big. Now, Amy, you had us include the CAST, the Center for Applied Special Technology, and the Wisconsin Assistive Technology Initiative, and they focused at the national level on assistive technology. Yes. And then we have at least 3 pages of state, and I'm going to say local, but again, Texas is such a large state, so I don't know exactly where everyone is coming from. So I don't know if it's necessarily local to you, right, where you are at, but these are Texas specific resources. And we want to make sure that you all have them because you're in Texas. It wouldn't make sense to give you something in, I don't know, North Carolina, right?
Right. Right.
So, I mean,
these are some great resources.
Like, thanks, you guys are really unhelpful for giving us something way far away.
Right. And not just for assistive technology, for all things special ed, 504. They're great resources. SpedText is one of my favorite. It's my go-to all the time because you can make a phone call and get some answers and they'll email you. I mean, that really is, they're one of the most helpful resources that I found.
I've heard a lot of good things about them. Yep. I've also heard very good things about your Texas Parent to Parent. Yep. And
our partner resource network is great too. So here's tons.
I mean, like, look at all of this. You have both Texas A&M and then UT Austin, if I'm not mistaken, is in here. That both of them have, connections to helping students with disabilities and assistive technology. That's amazing.
Yep. Yep.
That's amazing. So as we're wrapping up, make sure you can connect with us. You can follow us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. We have Instagram, and I say this every single time. I really need to add in our Instagram handle, and I always forget, and I'm sorry, everyone. If you have any questions about today, you can email us at info@ncld.org, or you can email us for policy questions. Rebecca, I see you. I think you might be taking notes. I promise you, I'm going to email you all this information so you don't have to write it down because I'm going to take care of you. I got you. And then we have other upcoming advocate academies. I've hyperlinked, I'm pointing to the screen and you guys can't see that. That's so silly, I'm sorry. But the very first Advocate Academy we held last month, and it was an introduction to IDEA in section 504. And I have it hyperlinked here, the video, the YouTube link that we did. And as you see, we're doing this one on assistive technology. Next month, towards the end of August, we're going to talk about IEP preparation. And I will include, again, another hyperlink of this Advocate Academy in that presentation as well. So every time you all attend our next Advocate Academy, you will get to keep all of the other previous Advocate Academies. Yay! And also we're gonna continue to build on our resources too, so that you all have a nice, my goal is 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 slides of nothing but great resources in Texas for you all, because, well, families need them. So as you see in August, we're going to do IEP preparation. In September, we're going to talk about 504 plans. And then in October, we're going to talk about how to tie this all together so we can help transition our kids into adulthood, because they grow up, they're growing. And we need to make sure that we're talking about transition. So, and for those of you who are feeling especially fired up, we are going to also host 2 different kinds of Advocate Academies. We are calling these our 201s. And this is how to really advocate on policy levels, on policy issues at both the state and local, at the state and local level, and then at the federal level. I think that we see I believe that with COVID now, we see a lot more people being active at their school board meetings. They want information. They want to understand this information. And so we are going to host our second Advocate Academies all on this policy world and how to advocate at this school board. You know, you're the parent, you know what's going on, you know what's happening, and let's have you go there and speak passionately about your child and share your story. I think it's a powerful thing. So and with that, we are done with this Advocate Academy. I'm going to stop the screen share and stop the recording, say thank you, everyone. But we are going to stay on to ask, to do questions. So let me take care of all the other things first. What am I doing here? There we go.